Companies in Germany continue to cut jobs. December 2025 was the post. Then afterwards, in January, you think it's going to improve. Take a look at this, which is job cuts in Germany slowing down, January 2026. Then afterwards, further, 25th January 2026, companies in Germany cutting more jobs again, February 2026. I thought things are going to improve. I think a lot of people were thinking the same thing, but the reality is that if you're still thinking that nothing bad is going to come just because you're going to wait this phase out, I think I have a bad news for you. I don't think things are going to go that way. So very important is to remember what exactly is happening in the market. And this is the reason I'm making this video. I'm on paternity leave. That means I'm not really doing much. I'm not making YouTube videos, things like that. But this is something important. This is something where I actually see a lot of pain being caused with students, and especially also professionals who came on job seeker visa and things like that. Because the thing is, the biggest market in India is that let me take the money from you at the moment, and what happens with you afterwards, it doesn't matter. I don't think that's the right approach, because if you want to build a name long term, it's something you have to simply do. When bad times come, you have to simply be there. And this is exactly the reason why I'm starting this, which is I will be now making videos more frequently so that you can really understand what's going on and how you can prepare yourself so that you're not waiting for the very last months when your job seeker visa is expiring, when your entire opportunity card is expiring, and then you're thinking, okay, now I really need to find something. Because the thing is, if you're thinking in that direction, it's probably already too late. If that's the scenario, then you don't really have a lot of options. So let's go to the screen. Let me take you step by step what is happening right now in Germany with the job market, because some people are still claiming that there are so many jobs available, things like that. Some people are saying there are still hirings happening. Some people are saying their jobs getting cut. What is exactly the scenario? I will break this down now. So let's take a look at the very first one. So this is the IFO Institute. IFO Institute is actually very famous for putting out these monthly reports where they essentially say, okay, we have interviewed 9,500 different institutions, organizations, companies. This is actually what they do. And they build a barometer. They build a measurement in order to see if the job cuts are going to get worse, or the jobs are going to, there will be more hirings and things like that in the future. So that's their entire job. And then they do a few other things. So take a look at this here. We read the text. Companies in Germany are more cautious again about hiring new staff. Most of them are cutting jobs. The IFO employment barometer fell to 91.9 points in December, down from 92.5 in November, the lowest level since May 2020, right? So in the last 6 years, it has been one of the lowest points. In 2025, we have experienced gradual job cuts, especially in industry. Says Klaus Wohler, the weak economy is continuing to slow down. The labor market and industry, almost all sectors are continuing to cut jobs. Clothing manufacturers in particular want to cut staff. Service providers also remain reluctant to hire new staff. The barometer fell here again. The picture is similar in trade, with companies planning to employ a few staff in the new year. In construction, positive and negative expectations are currently in balance. The construction industry plan to keep its headcount unchanged. The tourism industry and management consultancies have a positive outlook. They plan to hire more staff in this year. So now let's think about this. What exactly happening is that the manufacturing jobs are essentially leaving Germany more and more because of the higher energy prices. The electricity prices have risen. The industries simply are finding it very difficult to compete at these new levels. And you also know about this Iran war right now happening. You also don't know how things are going to improve, but there are some fields where things have a lesser impact. And that is something you have to keep in mind, that even if you think about the collection of multiple companies and you call them in a specific category, for example, let's talk about tourism and management consultancies, right? They said they're having a positive outlook and that it's still going to grow. They're still going to hire people in the new year. Important to remember is that tourism and management consultancy as a entire category does not mean that every single company in tourism, every single company in management consultancy are looking forward to hiring new people. The most important thing to remember in these kind of scenario is in every single category, no matter what kind of category you check, you take IT, you take manufacturing, you take whatever. There are some companies which are still always able to adapt, are able to do better, while others start suffering. And this becomes even more visible when times are bad. And right now times are shit, actually. I was just speaking to my friend and हम दोनों यही बोल रहे थे कि यार हमारे टाइम में ये सारे के सारे काम क्यों नहीं थे, क्योंकि he's in the phase right now where he has to look for jobs and the contracts are not really getting extended. So that is unfortunately a situation where you are in a completely new realm. You don't know like how to proceed with things there, and that's where like knowing this, like what kind of industries you have to be a little bit cautious about, what kind of industries are still okay, makes sense. That means if you're thinking about things like tourism and management consultancy, that means people who are in management side, so economics, commerce, things like that, you don't have to worry. At the same time, people who are in pure maths, sciences, physics, things like that, you are also able to go inside in management consulting companies very, very frequently. The basics is like you have to be very good at maths. So when you're good at that, like you generally get a way around this. Let's talk about construction, because on the screen there was another graph which we have not seen below. So if I take a look at the next page, you can see here that by sector, you have manufacturing like decreasing by 21.7 points. So like this is the hiring intent. You have to remember this very clearly, that this is not the number of new jobs, or this is not the number of job cuts. This is the hiring intent purely. Right? They are measuring the intent. They are not measuring the actual jobs getting cut. So service sector, again, it's lower. Trade is getting lower, and construction is positive. Same goes further here in job cuts in Germany slowing down January 2026. So this is for January. And again, was similar story, which is that construction still did not change much. Let's take a look at this. So construction was still in positive. Service sector, from the negative intent, it went towards zero. Manufacturing was still in negative, and trade was still in negative. Then we go further in February 2025. And in February 2025, if you take a look at the entire data right now, let's go here. You're seeing construction is still positive in 2.7. Service sector is a little bit negative. Trade minus 13.9, manufacturing minus 19.7. So if you take a look at this text right here, again, because it's important, almost all sectors are planning to reduce their headcount, especially the automotive industry, where the pressure pressure to adjust staffing levels remain high. The barometer for service providers fell back into negative territory. Nevertheless, individual sectors such as IT service providers and legal tax consultants are still increasingly looking for new staff. And I will like seriously tell you that, especially when you're coming into these fields, if you're coming into fields like tax law, if you're coming into fields like accounting, corporate finance, compliance, deal advisory, all of these things, they are still booming, because there are still companies in Germany which are doing very well. And these are simply not the companies which are in the manufacturing side. So that is something you have to keep in mind. But that even though like the entire job market is struggling, there are still professions which are looking out for new talent, and they're having a lot of difficulty in just like keeping up the work. Because what starts happening is, think about it like this: you're a businessman and you're living in Germany, and you want to find a tax consultant. You start writing to tax consultant, and every single tax consultant tells you that they don't have capacity, which happened with me. Like, this is my story. So you write to a tax consultant cannot find any kind of space for you, cannot find space for you. At the time when I decided that like I cannot run my business anymore in Germany, that was when I wrote to 42 tax consultants, did not find any kind of positive response from them. I was like, okay, like this is getting really ridiculous, because they don't have capacity. They don't have like new people coming inside. They don't have, they want to give the work because the work is coming. And that's when it starts happening where like, businesses start leaving and they start like going to other places. At the same time, you also have to see that there are like other industries where like simply like work is going away. Like if Volkswagen closes a big company, then of course a lot of like labor work, manufacturing work is going to go away. This is the reality. Like there's no way around it. Important to remember this. Same way, the people who are in the IT industry, the job cuts are not as dramatic at all. Take a look at this. Nevertheless, individual sectors such as IT as service providers and legal and tax consultants are still increasingly looking for new staff. Now, why is this the case? This is the case because mostly you have a lot of like companies trying to outsource things to AI. It's still not perfect. You still always need people who can do the things right, who have the knowledge. because as a vibe coder, you cannot really go that far. So that's an area. Also, the second thing, if you think, is like, especially on IT, the effect is not regional or local. On IT, the effect generally always is global, because you have companies which are spanning around the globe. If you're having a company in Germany, you might have clients in US, Japan, India, whatever, and you're working with all of them. If all of them are having difficulties, then you're going to have difficulty in that area also. Otherwise, you're doing fine. So that's why like IT is really a place where you do not experience these regional or local effects or national effects in that sense. So that's very important to remember. Now, let's take a look at this exactly. So the text I forgot to show you, but like that was right here. This is an email even I sent out like recently, because I spoke to somebody who showed me like that this guy sent like 300 applications and they had like absolutely like 0 interviews in the end. And this is unfortunately the reality right now. And he's like, yeah, like, you know, maybe Germany was a mistake. Like that was the main statement that he made. And that's where like I wanted to essentially make this small email. I send out emails regularly. So if you want to join my mailing list where I send you like new insights, things like that, you can do it with the link given below. It's completely for free. So I decided to write an email with the main points, which is like really making it more difficult for you to find a job right now. The first thing is, like, in Germany, the best jobs are never posted. This is a reality. Germany is still a country which heavily relies on unsolicited applications or internal hirings. So unsolicited application is essentially you have a company and you want to work with that company and you have not yet found somebody who is completely good. So in those kind of scenarios, they're actually already stockpiling the previous applications that they received, and they go through those applications, they reach out to those people that they liked, and they say, if you're still available, let's work together. So that's the first thing. That means like when they are in the mode of when they actually realize that they have too much workload, from that moment till the time the application or this vacancy actually goes out, it's sometimes like months of time. It takes sometimes 2 or 3 months for them to like process all of this and like put the right things, get the approvals, things like that for it to go out. But if in that process you already have the application sent out to them, that really improves your case. Most of the success that we have seen, because I also run the Germany Career Mastermind, so in there like we help careers, the professionals, to have a better career in Germany, to find jobs faster, things like that. Most of the success we saw there was simply with people who were using unsolicited applications. So very important thing that you should keep in mind. I think this is a free advice and a valuable advice. You should take it. Networking is also something that you should not put on the backseat and just like forget. When the time comes, you're going to ask somebody. देखो, अगर तुम किसी को उस टाइम पे किसी चीज़ के बारे में पूछते हो जब तुम्हें उस चीज़ की ज़रूरत है, उससे पहले तुमने उसके साथ कोई रिलेशन बनाया ही नहीं है, the chances that this person is going to say yes to any of the requests that you have is very, very, very low. This is the reason like networking is such an important thing, which is like you are actually warming people up for a specific stage, for a specific moment when you might need a favor, you might have an ask, and if you build the relationship right, that they can help you further with this. Really, it is really not as simple as just writing to some people randomly and just in the second message itself you say, hey, like, you know, I'm looking for a job, can you like forward my application? It's not the same when you compare it with somebody who has built a relationship over like multiple months, weeks, right? Like, so sometimes like a few weeks is already enough. Like 3 weeks, 4 weeks is already enough to build a good relationship. So that's something you have to keep in mind. The second number is like German companies don't hire CVs, they hire familiarity. This is unfortunately or fortunately the case, because the thing is like familiarity is not just that you have studied in Germany, although like that's one of the best things you can do, which is like if you study in Germany, the chances that they take your qualifications more seriously because you've studied in a German university and they know the standards of a German university is much higher compared to when you've studied abroad. So if you have worked there as a work student, if you have been recommended by a colleague, or you have been somebody like who contacted them before, like then it's a little bit different. Like then you're already familiar. Another important thing to remember here is that like if you have a German address and things like that comes across completely differently than when you're having an Indian address. But like when you're having an Indian address, but you have a lot of skills to offer, like if you're like very good at what you do, if you have exactly the tools that they need right now, that's a completely different story. That's also where like knowing German is a huge sign of familiarity. That means like most of these jobs which are coming in right now, like here's the funny insight, another one. This is an important insight to remember, which is like most of the jobs which are coming in right now are really like in smaller cities also, where the companies don't have these massive costs to upkeep like the companies in larger cities have. So I like, again, it's completely anecdotal, but I speak to people and they're like working in some small town, in some small, like, you know, almost village area, and they're still having some kind of like small engineering jobs, things like that, and it's still money in the end. So that's what I'm seeing. Like another thing, which is like people who are able to find jobs easily are not just targeting the larger cities, they're also targeting the surrounding areas, and sometimes they can get very good jobs there. So knowing German, so these are the signs of familiarity, which I mentioned as a lesson, which is like knowing German, living in Germany, if you're living abroad, a software tool or skill which is also being used in the target company, which makes you valuable to them, right? So the third one is like many international students like who are living in Germany, like they apply too late. So like they are already starting when like the entire studies are done, and then they are at the job seeker visa, the counter is ticking, and this is not a nice situation to be in. So even if you don't need a new job, I think like this is for the people who probably already have a job. Like I think it's also very interesting to understand, if you're going to now apply for a job, like do you have chances of getting hired? This also gives you a huge reality check, right? Because think about it, like right now you're like very safe and secure in your job, but you do not exactly know if this job throws you out, if you'll find a job again. So I think like simply preparing you for that is also not a bad idea at all. If you think if you want a promotion, you want a better job, you want to simply like change companies and things like that, even in those scenarios, like just giving some time to this is really going to be helpful for you, because then you just know what your actual worth is. So, and then the last one was very important, to which I also sent a Loom video together, which is English only job searches cut the markets in half. And there was an example I showed here. This is Stepstone. If you take a look at Stepstone and Maschinenbau Engineer, take a look at this here. I want you to take a look at the stats on the left side, right? So you have German jobs which are 1,995, and you have English jobs which are 108. These are the vacancies posted. And I will show you another funny thing. So even in the English jobs, if you are going to now select a few, let's take a look at this one, right? So it's forklift design and development. So let's take a look at this. Fluent in written and spoken German and English, right? So I can guarantee you that even if you think that these are the 108 jobs which are in English, and then you're going to actually look for them, and these are not going to be in English, and they're still going to be like probably asking for German. So another important thing, like which I have been saying since I started this channel, is that if you're thinking about coming to Germany, life can be very easy for you if you speak German well. It's the same way if you would go to any other country. If you're going to go to France, and if you think you will come by just with English, doesn't work. You would go to Russia and you'll just speak English and you'll find a job there, doesn't work. This is the same thing, like outside India, like you have this issue in most of the countries. But the moment you speak this language fluently, things change. And again, this is the reason we built the Faster German program. I've also showed on that page, if you go to Faster German A1, you can see directly right here, which is a testimonial from a student like who was not having German, and then he learned German till B2 level, and then he got full-time job in Germany without any kind of prior experience. So that is something that I'm trying to tell you. And we also have like 100% money back guarantee. So like you can just select the plan with 100% money back guarantee. And if you use our courses, you do not get the Goethe exam test cleared, then you have 100% money back from us. And we don't ask any kind of questions. We just want to see the certificate. You didn't pass, fine. So that's how much we believe in it. We have over like 20,000 students like already enrolled in the programs, and most of them have very good experience. You always have students here and there like for whom the program doesn't fit, and that's why we also always offer preview lessons. So you can simply scroll down, you can take a look at the curriculum, and you can see what exactly are we teaching you here. But for most of the students, not even students, like for most of the professionals who don't have a lot of time and they want to learn German faster, for them, that is a great program. If you're somebody who has unlimited time and you have a lot of time to learn German, this is probably not the best program for you. So that's the reason I'm saying that like people who are a little bit tight on time, for them, this is really the best program. Now, if you're going to take a look at the English term, mechanical engineer, and if you take a look at the jobs available, again, you have in German and English. We take a look at the English jobs again here in the terms of mechanical engineer. Now, this one is highlighted. We can take a look and see what are the requirements right here in the starting. Again, fluent in written and spoken English. Maybe it's the same one that we used before, so I can just open the next one and see what it says here. Knowledge of German is a plus. So those are the kind of like positions we are looking for. So like that's exactly the point. And this is the reason why I said like if you're in some kind of like mastermind, like where you essentially like a lot of like, aspirants together and you're looking for jobs, you can get a lot of support there. Like you can essentially like, hey, like I've found this position or my company is hiring here and here, because many people then also decide to stay afterwards also, just because it is a nice community experience and you get to learn from each other. You can network with each other. You can build good relationships, which also help you further in the career. So that's great. Like that, these are the kind of like vacancies that we're looking for. Now let's take a look at the next one and see that here they have really not mentioned a lot of details. Okay, so we go further then. Good communication skills only in English. They have not mentioned anything about German. That's also nice. Then we have only in English. That's also good. I think this is a common theme that you're going to see constantly. So main idea is going to be that like simply if you think you can learn German, if you have like 2 hours per day, 3 hours per day, at least 2 hours per day, and on the weekends you can spend like 6 hours each day or something, then you can really go through the entire German learning process much faster. So then you're probably done with the A1 program in 1 month, and then you're done with the entire B1 program or something in 4 to 5 months, something like that. So this is when you're doing it part-time. If you have full time available to you, then you can go through B1 in 3 months time, and B1 is going to be enough for you to essentially have simple conversations in German in most of the interviews. At B2 things become much more simpler, right? So these are going to be another like huge positive things that you can really take a look at. That was a basic thing here. Now let me go back to the email. It is important for you to like prepare in advance, because look, when you're coming to Germany, you're coming with a lot of hopes, a lot of dreams, and sometimes like your parents have a lot of hopes from you. Everybody is like kind of rooting. I don't know, rooting is the right word. Like you also feel this pressure of like making things happen, but everybody's like kind of looking up to you and seeing like, what can you make happen? If you've already come so far, if you've already come from India and you're living in Germany right now, I don't believe that it makes sense to settle for like delivery jobs. I don't believe it makes sense to settle for like Amazon jobs and things like that. It is good that you're independent, that you did this, that you're doing it on the side while you're studying, but it is time for you to really think about putting your head down and find jobs which are relevant to you, which you can essentially look forward to going to. If you're a cycling enthusiast, okay, like probably you love your job there, like with deliveries. But if you're somebody who's coming as an engineering student and you're doing jobs which are not in your domain, and maybe you like engineering more, give it a try, right? Give it a try seriously, because I also know, you also know that whatever trials that we have done so far, we are not 100% sure if everything fit right there. अगर तुम्हें लगता है कि ठीक है मैंने अपना 100% बेस्ट दिया है और तब भी नहीं हुआ, that was your best. How about you let somebody else take a look at that? ये है बेसिक आइडिया. बेसिक आइडिया है कि जर्मनी में जॉब मार्केट बढ़िया नहीं चल रही इस टाइम पे. महीने के बाद महीने चीजें जो है खराब दिखती जा रही हैं. अभी कुछ सेक्टर्स हैं जहाँ पे ये सारी की सारी दिक्कतें नहीं है जो मैंने बताया. वो आईटी हो गया, मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टिंग हो गया, इसमें इतनी ज्यादा दिक्कतें नहीं है. तो जिन सेक्टर्स में दिक्कतें हैं उसमें भी ऐसा नहीं है कि सारी की सारी कंपनीज ही मर रही हैं. उसमें ऐसा है कि कुछ कंपनीज अभी भी लोग हायर कर रही हैं और बाकी कुछ कंपनीज है जो लोग हायर नहीं कर रही हैं. तो हमें अपने आप को किस हिसाब से पोजीशन करना है कि हम इन कंपनीज में जॉब ले पाएं जो अभी भी बढ़िया तरीके से हायर कर रही हैं, जो तुम्हें दिख ही रहा है. अब स्टेपस्टोन पे अगर तुम देखोगे 24 hours newer than 24 hours, you still have 118 like new companies which posted this, right? Like it still costs money to post on Stepstone. A company pays money monthly to have a vacancy up on the Stepstone platform. तो अब मुफ्त के लिए तो करते नहीं है लोग. देख, जब टाइम डिफिकल्ट होते हैं ना, सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ ये होती है, जब टाइम्स बहुत डिफिकल्ट होते हैं तो कंपनीज भी, आदमी भी सारे के सारे अपना कॉस्ट सेविंग पे सोच रहे होते हैं. और उसमें वो ये सोचते हैं यार ठीक है, मेरे पास अभी सिर्फ 3,000 यूरो है महीने के, मैं ऐसे किस बढ़िया आदमी को ले पाऊं जो सही में काम करना चाहता हूं. देखो जर्मन्स का जो है वर्क एथिक ऐसा है कि जब तक वो काम कर रहे हैं, जब उन्होंने अपना 8 घंटे पूरे हो गए तो मतलब काम नहीं कर रहे. इन टाइम्स में सही में ऐसे लोगों की जरूरत होती है जो बोलते हैं नहीं मतलब मेरे को फर्क नहीं पड़ता, आई विल मेक श्योर दैट द जॉब इज डन. उस टाइप का एटीट्यूड मतलब चाहिए होता है इन टाइम्स में. तो मैं बस ये बता रहा हूँ कि जो लोग पैसा डाल के सारी की सारी चीज़ें अभी भी पूछ रहे हैं, अभी भी लीड्स मांग रहे हैं, अभी भी बोल रहे हैं कि भैया हमारे एप्लीकेशन दो, वो सारी की सारी चीज़ें मतलब फजूल की नहीं है. इसलिए कोशिश करो कि यू अप्लाई फॉर दीज जॉब्स, you apply for them, right? Or if you want any kind of like help, things like that, we also run a mastermind. I can give you the details for that here in the description also, and you can take a look at the different kind of offerings we have. This basic idea है कि जब when you're applying for jobs, like that you're accountable, that every single week we have a plan, what is being done and what have you done. You have this accountability, you have document reviews, you have weekly calls. All of these things are all in your own benefit. If you're still somebody who have been just slopping out, this is a great opportunity for you to like take this leap and essentially really start preparing for your career. क्योंकि देख, अगर तुमने अपने आप को मतलब सारे के सारे चांस दिया ही नहीं, अपने आप को जो है मतलब 100% प्रिपेयर किया ही नहीं, और तब तुम बोलो कि यार मैं फेल हो गया, तो मतलब वो तो फेलियर थोड़ी ना है, वो तो इसका रिजल्ट है कि तुमने अपने आप को 100% प्रिपेयर नहीं किया. और इस चीज़ का रिग्रेट करना बड़ा होता है कि मतलब मैंने अपने आप को 100% रिग्रेट मतलब प्रिपेयर नहीं किया, मैंने कर दिया और मैंने उसको सोच के जो है हार भी मान ली, और अब जो है उस ख्याल के साथ जो है सारी ज़िंदगी चलते रहो, उसका भी कोई सेंस नहीं बनता. तो ये सारा गेम है. अगली वीडियो में मिलता हूँ.